Hello, beautiful entrepreneurs. Listen, if you have been contemplating raising your rates, this video is here to give you clarity about what direction to take. All right, so this is a specific channel for entrepreneurs who are on the spiritual path. For those of you guys who are out there who are following your heart, your business is not necessarily led by just wanting to make money, but it's also led specifically by your soul and your purpose. Okay, so if that is you, you are in the right place. Welcome to my channel. I'm Selena Elamoon, and the biggest thing that I want to start with here is that your creativity is an activation, and every single piece of your creativity that you share lifts the world. Okay, the reason this is so important for you to understand before raising your prices is because the way that you raise your prices, it can either backfire on you or you can be really successful with it. And what matters most to determine this is the energy that you carry behind this. And that energy that I'm speaking to is your sense of awareness and sense of worthiness around what you bring to the table through your creativity. Okay, so if you are somebody that thinks that you pump out a lot of stuff, but it's no big deal, then you're not really feeling worthy of what you're putting out there. But when you start realizing that if you wrote a song or a poem, or if you're putting out some kind of like creative writing, or you're putting out some educational piece or some videos, maybe you wrote a book, whatever it is that is involving your creativity, you need to recognize the power of that, okay? Because when you raise your rates, you're gonna see a lot more success when you realize the value that you bring to the table. So what I highly recommend doing, and this is something that really helped me in my business, is looking at all the testimonials that you have to date. Okay, I literally just got off a call with a client. She did my wealth code activations. You can check them out in the description box. And she said that on day 2, she was offered a free coffee. And by the end of her doing the entire 33-day process, she manifested 15K. And that was unexpected. It was just out of the blue. Okay, so this is really important for people like us because we need to be able to get those testimonials, right? I don't know how good my wealth codes are unless somebody's telling me the type of impact it's having on their lives. I'm just sitting there in my own little bubble feeling like, yeah, this is easy, this is flowing, this is what God is giving me right now, and I'm just going to put it all together, but I'm not seeing the value of it as much as I could without other people giving me that feedback, right? So when I get that feedback, that's when I start to say, wow, this is really something valuable and I'm excited to share it with the world, right? So this is what you need to do. You need to see the value of what you bring to the table, okay? Even if it's just 5 people that are being deeply transformed by your work, you have to recognize that that is a butterfly effect, because even just those 5 people, they have communities, they have networks, and the way they transform based on what they experience from you, it's going to have a ripple effect, right? And so you have to see the value of that. When you start recognizing the value of what you bring to the table, everything in the way that you charge and the way that you feel about what you put out there is going to have a big, big, big impact, okay? So you also have some messages here about money respecting you because you respect your purpose. So be careful here. I just kind of got like a cautionary sign. Like, don't just start doing things because you feel desperate for money. If you're in a low point right now, or even if you're in a high place and you want to keep pumping stuff out, just be careful. Make sure you're staying in alignment with your purpose, because your purpose is it's like a thread. The way that I see it's like this golden thread, okay? And your job is to like follow the thread, and that thread stems from your heart space. So you know where this thread is leading to you moment to moment, day by day. But the moment you start getting in your head, you start forgetting the thread. Ah, that rhymed. So there's something about really needing to honor this golden thread in your heart and letting that guide you, letting that sense of, no, this feels good to me, okay? Like the other day I was thinking to myself, like, I really want to work with clients when it comes to my healing abilities, where I feel like on a deep level, it's like serving my soul deeper, okay? And when I was in school, I wanted to be a speech pathologist. So I started studying things around speech pathology. I was interested in like Broca's and Wernicke's aphasia. I wanted to help people who had gone through strokes regain their speech. I wanted to help people who stuttered. I volunteered at stuttering institutes and things like that. But I never ended up fully doing the full master's. But I did do a master's in applied linguistics, and I always felt to like I always felt to myself like I really want to find a way to help these people, even though I'm not formally the speech pathologist that I originally wanted to be. And I actually had a client reach out to me and say her dad had just had a stroke and he needed help to regain his motor patterns and his speech. And I was like, wow, that is God showing me like I had a purpose that I felt in my bones when I was young. And even though I didn't necessarily follow that career path specifically, now on my career path, I'm actually able to support in that way. Okay, so that's an example. The other thing you need to know is that, excuse me, your spiritual gifts are expanding faster than your nervous system might feel ready for right now. And you have a lot of activations taking place. And those activations are fueling your creative outlets. And those creative outlets are having a greater impact. And then that impact is also giving you the feedback that you're more valuable. So you need to raise your rates. Okay. So it's like by going through these spiritual activations, you're recognizing that there's even more value that is coming out of you right now, or it's about to, okay? But your nervous system, you need to ground it, go to nature, hug a tree, do what you need to do, okay? Excuse me, I've gotten a bit of a cold lately. The other thing that I got for some of you is that your environment is just like way too busy. And especially if you're an empath, you're absorbing other people's emotions right now. And it's affecting your business guidance. So there might be somebody in your energy that doubts you, questions you, doesn't necessarily see your value, or who just is so obsessed with themselves that they're constantly talking about themselves that there's no space for you to actually feel worthy in their environment. Some of you guys are going to have to really acknowledge where this is affecting your subconscious, because it looks like you need to be able to tap into your own business guidance and you need to detach emotionally and empathetically from some of these people, because it just feels like they're influencing you on a deep level and you might not even realize it. Okay, so it's really, really critical that you spend some alone time, that you see your worth. Even if nobody around you is mirroring it back to you, you still need to see it within yourself, and that's going to give you the courage to raise your rates as well. Okay. Now, some of you guys, when you were children, something happened to you, and there may have been like something creative that you put out in the world, or just an idea, or something that happened in a school project, or even in a family situation where you weren't necessarily seen or validated for your creativity. Maybe you wrote somebody a poem and they didn't like it, or just something. It's something to do with your creativity, and how it was not well received in your childhood is coming up to be healed right now, because there's a pattern that you developed from an experience where you believed that this part of you, this creative part of you, was not necessarily valuable for everybody. And so you decided to just devalue it yourself. And this is going in opposition to you being able to raise your rates right now. So I really want you to confront your inner child and let that child know that regardless of how other people, liked it, didn't like it, whatever it was that you gave them or put out, maybe you got a really bad, maybe you got like a really bad grade on something that was creative. I remember when I was in high school, I was like, even in junior high, like I was always picked as like the lead role in every play, right? When I would audition, I would always get the part. And then I went to university and I took like a drama class in university, and I'm not kidding you, I almost failed. And after that, I was like, oh my God, I suck at acting. Like I just thought I was a disaster because of this teacher. She just didn't like me, but she had a clowning background and I just wasn't into that kind of theater. So, I really had to confront, like, you know what? Not everybody's going to like the way that I execute my creativity in the world. And that doesn't mean it sucks. It just means it wasn't for those people or that person. And it still holds value. Okay. Some of you guys, you had a life, like a whole lifetime, this lifetime, where you were really silenced. And like, because you were silenced, there's like this buildup of energy that's been playing in the background to like speak more, right? It's like the desire to speak up has like been, it's like the pressure has been rising and rising and rising and rising and rising. And some of you guys were maybe told to just shut up when you were young, or you were just told like, your opinions don't matter, your ideas are useless. Whatever people told you, or whatever you were made to believe about your voice and your ability to express yourself, like that has been minimized in this lifetime. But the beautiful thing that's going on right now is that I'm seeing the reverse side of this, where it built up so much pressure for you to want to express yourself, that pressure, once those gates are open, hey, year of the fire horse, right? Like, let's just get out of the gates running. You finally are ready to come out of that silence, and the way you're gonna express yourself, it's gonna be like people are not going to be able to ignore it. Like, it's just going to be so potent. It's going to be filled with soul. It's going to be filled with all this pressure that's been building up and building up and building up and building up. And now when it comes out, it's just going to be like pure gold for people. And so that was part of why this had to happen to you, because in this timeline that you're in right now, it's like everything needed to start building up for you under the surface to be like, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? You know, what is my main message here? And how is it going to impact people? And what is the truth of it? And am I coming from the right place? And is it coming from my heart? And is it coming from higher consciousness? Or, you know, where am I playing small here? So there's like all these like little micro questions that and just variations of your voice that you've been playing with in the background for a long time. So you've been able to really find a flow with how you articulate yourself. And now that you found that flow, when people connect with you, they're just going to be like, like you've nailed it, right? Like you're going to nail it. People are just going to be like, wow, by the way that you express yourself. So this is going to show up for you as well. Okay. Some of you guys recently were put in a position, and it's funny because I actually know people like this, and even myself, where you had an option. Okay. So you had the option to forgive somebody who did something horrible to you. Someone was just messing around with you. I think they undermined you, and you had the opportunity to forgive them, or you had the opportunity to take revenge on them. And for those of you guys who took the higher road, for those of you guys who chose to forgive somebody, you're about to receive a whole new opening in your finances because of this choice. Okay, so it was like a test. And for those of you guys who chose to forgive the person, you passed the test. You literally passed the test. And because you passed that test, now you have a whole new financial pathway opening up for you. Okay, so congratulations if that's you. And the final message that I have for you today is that you're choosing a project based long-term attitude towards your business versus a short-term validation type approach to your business. So some of you guys might have just been thinking, okay, I just got to like pay attention to the algorithms. I got to do like the same thing every day just because this is like the hustle and bustle of the way that I operate. And I want to get those like quick results. Whereas some of you are like actually taking a pause and being like, okay, I want to take a step back and I want to reevaluate like, where is my business going and where am I here to, how am I here to influence people and influence humanity to rise up, right? And you got to start tweaking your messaging, and you got to start tweaking your approach, and you got to start tweaking how you show up and even the frequency in which you show up in order for you to really be on your purpose with this, and to not just look for these momentary gains in your business, but to really look at the overall outlook of your business. And that's really hard to do when you're in a place of scarcity, but once you're in a place of abundance, my goodness, is it so much easier to just sit back and observe because you feel safe doing so, right? You're not thinking, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? How are we going to put food on the table? How are we going to pay the rent? You're thinking, how did I come here to serve, and how can I do it best? And that's a very different mindset, right? Once you get into that mindset, it really shifts your brain starts experiencing all this spaciousness because you're able to really see things with like fresh eyes and like just more breath, right? So this is something that I think is going to show up for a lot of you guys as well. We're going to get into the code. So for the code, you guys can just sit back and relax. We're going to impart this code into you, and all you need to do is give me consent to energetically receive it. This is called the Worthiness Activation Code. And it says that your prices rise when your self-concept rises. So right on point with everything that we've been talking about here. So you can just get into a nice receptive state. For those of you guys who give me permission, who are watching, I'm going to ask the hand of God to work with you today to help you to reconnect with your sense of worthiness so that you can raise your prices. And we're just going to move any energies that are stagnant or stale that are causing you to doubt your value in this world, or even just like those stories from your childhood that we talked about. Like I see some of you guys are just like really holding that around your neck and your voice. Some of you guys might be having like some neck stiffness and things like that because you are feeling like you need to be more creative, but this resistance is coming from these childhood wounds. So we're just going to ask the hand of God to move in and clear those out. And I'm also seeing like some of you guys are really like, well, what are other people going to think? Like there's a lot of that still playing out in the background. So for some of you guys who are dealing with that, we're going to ask the hand of God to clear all self-doubt around just other people's judgments that come up. My creations are worthy, and my business services and products hold value, and I'm ready to rise up and ask for that value in the exchange. It's an opportunity for me to reflect on how powerful I am and see that God is working through me to level up humanity. And that is a gift, not just for you, but for me, right? It's a gift to yourself to be able to be in service, because then that's when you're in flow. You get to receive through what you give, because it lights you up on the inside. And I'm also just getting like, when you raise your rates, don't do it from a place of like, I need money. Do it from a place of like, this has value, okay? You could be like a multi-millionaire and still you would charge these rates, because these rates are not about you needing money. These rates are about you valuing your work, and it's a very different mindset, okay? All right, so for those of you guys who want to try these wealth code activations, check them out in the link below, wealthcodeactivations.com. My voice is going crazy, I apologize. If anybody wants to work with me one-on-one, my email is also in the description box. You can reach out to me. We can book a consultation, see how I can support you in growing your business. And thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.